recording. All right. Well, we will dedicate this evening to our brother Yu Chai, and do wish you well, Yu Chai, and hope that you'll recover quickly and that this won't be serious. Continue praying for you. Okay. Well, let's pick up where we left off last time we were together. Our focus was, as I mentioned, what I wanted to do before we started considering poetry, which is the next genre that we're going to take a look at together. Before doing that, though, I wanted to go through one more example with you guys of a narrative, and uh, this one being a longer narrative, John 4. I think it's a familiar story to us. It's one of the reasons I chose it from a familiar book, the Gospel of John. So I wanted to just have us do the narrative steps together in order to just again practice them and see how they would work in a larger story, but also in a larger story within uh, a bigger narrative, the Gospel of John. And so last week we um, we looked at. Sorry, let me change. Have the session incorrect here. Last week, we took a look at just the background of John, reminded ourselves of that, just because, again, when you study a text, you don't just jump into the text. You need to make sure you understand what's around the text, that you understand the book itself, um, with the background of the book, the purpose of the book, the flow of thought of the book, all those things. So we spent a few minutes just reviewing, reminding ourselves of John in that sense. And then once you've done that, then you jump right into the passage itself and direct your attention to studying the text. And of course, for narratives, we call that narrative analysis. Complete the narrative analysis. That narrative analysis is comprised, again, of four aspects, four elements: the setting, the scene, character, and plot. And so we're going to do each of those four steps, four aspects for the story in John 4 going forward. Again, remember, for setting, which is our focus, the first aspect or type of narrative analysis we're going to do. Remember, the setting has to do with the situation of the story, the when and the where and the who, the background context of the story. And last time we were together, we reminded ourselves of the steps to do the setting analysis. The first being to read the whole story several times, make observations, and then note the physical action aspects of the story, where it happened, and then the time aspects, when it happened, and then the cultural aspects. That is, who is involved in the story, what do we know about them? Those are all key important elements, and will be especially important when we consider this story, the woman at the well, particularly the cultural aspects. They play a critical role in understanding what's going on in the story, as we will encounter going through it together. All right, so without any further delay, let's get into the setting analysis. So we began this last week by reading the story and then doing doing some observations. I wanted to continue that together with you, since we didn't get enough time to really go through it thoroughly. But I wanted to spend a few more minutes doing that, and then we'll look at the time and the places involved in the story. But let's go ahead and read this account again together, and I'll ask the help of you guys to do that. I'm going to start with Fu Wei, if you could read verses 1 to 6 here. And then Jiang Sheng, if you could read verses 7 through 11 for me. Dwayne will give you verses 12 to 16. Shulong, verses 17 to 22. And then Daniel, 23 to 26. Joshua, you can take 27 to 32. Looks like we lost Kaptuk. Jiang Sheng, you had a question? or comment?
Yes, I cannot read. I'm driving.
Oh, okay. Then thanks for letting me know. So I forget which verses I gave you. That was the second, verses 7 to 11, I think.
7, yeah, 7, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll ask Joshua to do that as well then, and then I'll pick up the final verses there. Okay. Pu-wei, do you want to start us off?
Okay, so okay, John 4, verse 1 to verse 6.
And then,
verse 1.
sorry to interrupt, but as we are reading, just pay attention, guys. Anything that sticks out to you, anything that gets your attention, any questions that you have, anything that seems interesting, significant to you, just those are the things we're looking for. We're not interpreting here. We're not summarizing the story yet. All we're doing is just noticing things from it. So be looking for that as we read through together. So thank you, Fu-wei. Go ahead.
Okay, so verse 1. Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, although Jesus himself was not baptizing, but his disciples were, he left Judea and went away again into Galilee. And he had to pass through Samaria. So he came to a city of Samaria called Sychar, near the passage of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. And Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, being weary from his journey, was sitting thus by the well. It was about the 6th hour.
There came a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. Therefore the Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask me for a drink, since I am a Samaritan woman?" For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God and who is it who says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." She said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then do you get that living water?"
You are not greater than our father Jacob, you who gave us the well and drank of it himself and his sons and his cattle. Jesus answered and said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will thirst again. But whosoever drinks of the water that I will give him shall never thirst. But the water that I give him will become in him a well of water springing up into eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water, so I will not be thirsty, nor come all this way to draw." He said to her, "Go and call your husband and come here."
The woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You have correctly said, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one who you now have is not your husband. This you have said truly." The woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you people say that in Jerusalem is the place when men ought to worship." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, an hour is coming when neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem you worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from..."
But an hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For such people, the Father seeks to be his worshippers. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. The woman said to him, I know that Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When that one comes, he will declare all things to us. Jesus said to her, I who speak to you am he.
At this point, his disciples came, and they were amazed that he had been speaking with a woman. Yet no one said, what do you seek? Or why do you speak with her? So the woman left her water pot and went into the city and said to the man, come see a man who told me all the things that I have done. This is not Christ, is it? They went out of the city and were coming to him. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, saying, Rabbi, eat. But he said to them, I have food to eat that you do not know about.
So the disciples were saying to one another, no one brought him anything to eat, did he? Jesus said to them, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. Do you not say there are yet 4 months, and then comes the harvest? Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, that they are white for harvest. Already he who reaps is receiving wages and is gathering fruit for life eternal, so that he who sows and he who reaps may rejoice together. For in this case the saying is true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you have not labored. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labor. Let me ask Daniel if you could read the last few verses there, Daniel, verse 39 to the end.
From that city, many of the Samaritans believed in him because of the word of the woman who testified, he told me all the things that I have done. So when the Samaritans came to Jesus, they were asking him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. Many more believed because of his word, and they were saying to the woman, it's no longer because of what you said that we believe, for we have heard for ourselves and know that this one is indeed the Savior of the world.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is just make some observations here of the text. And I think the challenge will be for this is I'm sure many of us have heard sermons or maybe even studied and preached this passage ourselves. So it may be hard not to draw upon some of the conclusions that we remember from those things, but try to approach this story as if it's new to you and fresh. So try to approach it in the sense of examining it from a fresh perspective, not asking that we would change our interpretation or anything like that at all, but just try not to let our previous knowledge kind of bias what we're wanting to do here as best as we can. So with that, I just want to, so it looks like internet went down. What I'd like to do is, I know last week I had you guys spend a few minutes on your own, just sort of noting some of the observations. I won't give you as much time tonight, but I do want to just give you a couple minutes to maybe collect your thoughts, write down any further observations that you have as we read it tonight, and then we'll come together. But I'll just give you a few minutes this time, not as long as last time, okay? So take that, take a few minutes, look through the text, and I'll pull it up here on the screen, and then we'll come back together, all right?